In this video, I'm going to explain how to memorize bar drinks and bar orders. Now, I don't drink any alcohol or go to bars, and so this is completely fresh and new to me. So the whole process I'm going to go through and explain to you is going to be someone who maybe gets a new bartending job and has to memorize all these different drinks and all these orders. And so it's going to be perfect for that. But also, this can also be expanded to any restaurant, because a restaurant, you have specific items on the menu, right? And I assume when it comes to drinking, you have common drinks that people order. Of course, there could always be someone ordering a drink you have no idea what it is, but you kind of just have to deal with that on a one-to-one basis depending on what the drink is. And so you can't really prepare for that really because you might never hear that drink again. So what I have right here in front of me are, I believe, like 20 common drinks that people order. Okay? And so let's just get started and let me just explain how I would go through memorizing all the specific bar drinks, then the bar orders, okay? So since there might be like 20, 30, 50 common drinks, I would have a memory palace and each drink would have its own location, okay? And so this is kind of having like a database for all the different drinks. All you have to do is go to that memory palace and then all those drinks are going to be there. So if you need a cosmopolitan, then you go to that specific location that has it and boom, all the different ingredients that you need are going to be there. Now, as you can tell, so we have a margarita, lime juice, cosmopolitan, lime juice here too. And so we have ingredients that repeat. Now what that means is we can kind of create a memory system. Now, I'm not saying you have to go through and see, okay, which ingredients repeat in multiple drinks. No, just keep it in your mind that, hey, so for margarita, I'm going to create maybe just a lime as the image for lime juice, right? And then say if it pops up again, you don't have to create a brand new image to represent lime juice. You already have it from the previous drink, right? So just use the same image. So you're pretty much creating your memory system as you're going on. When an ingredient repeats and you already create an image for it, just go with it. Just use a previous image you already used. It doesn't make sense to create a new image if you already have one that you're using. So you're keeping everything consistent, right? Now, I assume everything when you're making drinks are going to be in ounces of some sort, right? It's never going to be like a pound or anything. That's a lot. And so you don't have to memorize the ounces because it's a given, all right? But something like, let's see. So ounces there too. Ounces mint leaves. Tablespoon. So this is where you might have to create an image for teaspoon compared to tablespoon because they are different and you don't want to mix it up, right? And so you want to have, or so you can skip ounces, but if there's any other measurements that you might confuse, you might want to have an image for it. Now, of course, with the numbers, just have a simple number system. You can have a two-digit number system, but I assume for the most part, it probably won't go above, probably 10 ounces or something like that, right? So it's probably going to be a very low number. And it's okay if you have kind of repeat images because each location has its different, or each drink has its different location. So none of the drinks have a chance of mixing up because they're going to be in their own separate location. Now let's say, brand new, right? Bartending job, like, okay, I have to memorize all these different drinks and what makes them up. And so let's say we do a whiskey sour. So let's say I'm putting that in my room. So whiskey sour, you want to have an image for that because you want to know what the location represents, right? What the specific location represents. And so if it's my room, like the whole room, you could do like, your bed, closet at separate locations. Let's just say I'm using the whole room as one location. So maybe, like in my room, I see a whole bunch of whisk, like the whisk that you use to bake, and then a whole bunch of Sour Patch Kids, okay? So that's why I picture. And then, so we've got 2 ounces of whiskey, right? And so maybe I see a shoe using a whisk like a sword, okay? So shoe, 2, whisk. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I have a shoe, which means 2, and has a whisk. Oh, it's going to be 2 ounces of whiskey, okay? And so for you, if you really need to remember the ounce part, then you could create an image for it, but it's not really necessary as long as you're keeping things in order, right? So then we have a 1 ounce of lime juice, and maybe this shoe with a whisk picks up a lime and smacks it at a sun. One sun, okay? And so the smacks the slime at the sun. And maybe when the lime hits the sun, it explodes, okay? And so we got one sun again. So this could be a tablespoon of sugar. Sugar, I think of a cookie. I don't know. So, cookie. And so, maybe I picture this other sun come up because maybe when the lime exploded, a whole bunch of cookies came out of it. And so, this other sun comes and has maybe just a tablespoon and starts eating all of the cookies with the tablespoon. All right? And so for me, I just use a tablespoon. For a teaspoon, maybe I use a teapot, right? And so I want to mix those two up. And so it can be very obvious on what your images are. You could use exactly what they are here, right? Like a lemon or lemon juice. I was saying lime. A lemon, the person tosses a lemon because a lemon is yellow, a lime is green. And so that's what I'm picturing, right? I'm picturing a lemon. I'm picturing, instead of whiskey like the actual drink, I'm picturing a whisk. And so so that's what we have right there. And then maybe I come into the room and it's one egg white. And so I just toss this egg, and instead of it, having yellow in it, it's just completely white, like white paint essentially was in this egg. And so I toss it at everything in the room, the shoe, the suds, and just one big egg, boom, makes everything white. And so there we go. So now I have the drink order for whiskey sour, because when I close my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, so in the first, or I guess my first location, I have the drink. Okay, I see a whole bunch of whisk and a whole bunch of Sour Patch Kids. Oh yeah, whiskey sour. Yeah, okay. And then I have the shoe with a whisk. Oh yeah, that's going to be 2 ounces of whiskey. And then picks up a lemon and smacks it. Oh yeah, so that's gonna be, or smacks it out of the sun. So that's gonna be 1 ounce of lemon juice, and then the lemon explodes. A whole bunch of cookies come out of it, and this other son runs up and starts eating all the cookies with a spoon. Oh yeah, so that's gonna be 1 tablespoon of sugar, and then oh yeah, I have this egg, and I toss it, and a whole bunch of white paint goes everywhere. Oh yeah, it's gonna be 1 egg white, and then boom. That is exactly what makes up a whiskey sour, right? So you just saw the whole process of how I would memorize this specific bar drink, right? This drink. And so essentially that's the same thing you would do for every single one. Now the hard part might be coming up with images for these different ingredients. Because for the most part, just having your number system, numbers will be really easy. Some of the things are going to be given, ounces. That's going to be kind of given. Anything like dashes, you might think of radishes or something. So it's kind of up to you on how you're doing these additional kind of measurements, if you need them or not. Because like I said, I know nothing about alcohol, so people would probably have a better idea if they, drank alcohol, like, oh, of course it has to be, this specific measurement. So you can use that to your advantage. But for me, like I was telling you, I assumed ounces are going to be like the only pretty much measurement for, whiskey. It's not going to be like 2 pounds of whiskey or something like that, or 2 pints. And so so for me, I'm doing it on my lack of knowledge of drinking, but if someone has knowledge of it, they could use it extremely in an extremely advantage way for them to actually memorize this a little bit quicker. And so you will go through the whole process of memorizing all these different drinks and put them into the different locations in your memory palace. Now, if someone came up to you and was like, hey, I want a Pim's Cup, then you jump to that specific location, which is going to be triggered by the image you come up with. So if someone says, I want a whiskey sour, I'm like, whiskey sour, a bunch of whisk, Sour Patch Kids in my bedroom, boom, that's where all the ingredients are. And then I can just recall it for my memory palace, right? And so that's one part, memorizing all the different drinks. Now taking orders is going to be a little bit easier, because most likely than not, it's going to be the common drinks people just order, right? And so all you really have to do is have a memory palace. And so each location within your memory palace is going to be one order, okay? So even though it's one order, you can have like 5 drinks within it, right? And so you might need to have multiple memory palaces depending on, how busy it is or how many people order drinks. So it's better to have more locations and more memory palaces than less. because if you have less, you kind of have to make it up on the spot, right? And so a memory palace is way easier, I think, just because you have everything pre-prepped, so you're not really like, oh crap, no palaces, what do I do? Start freaking out once you realize you ran out of locations. And so, let's say a drink contained a margarita and 2 cosmopolitans, okay? And so maybe my bathroom would be the first order, or the first location in my memory palace, which represents the first order, right? And so all you have to do is come up with an image, right? So margarita, I think of maracas for some reason, and so that's what we're gonna go with. And then 2 cosmopolitans, and so you want to make sure that you're connecting whatever image you're using to represent the value, the amount of cosmopolitans or whatever drinks you're having. It's connected to the drink itself. And so it's 2 cosmopolitans. For some reason, cosmopolitan, I think of Cosmo. So Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld. And so we have maracas in there, right? And maybe I picture Kramer with his shoe just crashing these maracas. Now Kramer is using the shoe, right? So it's kind of attached to him. And so when I go back, I'm like, okay, I have to make this order. And so the order, what was it again? It was in my bathroom. I saw a margarita, these maracas. But yeah, so that's going to be margarita. Then I saw Cosmo Kramer beating these maracas with a shoe. That's right, we got 2 cosmopolitans. Boom. And then if you need to, all you have to do is go to your other memory palace that has the database of all these drinks, and then you can find the ingredients in order to make it. Now, of course, this all might seem really complicated because you're doing, all these different memorizations for the different drinks and their ingredients, and then when you're taking your orders, you're having your memory palaces, but then you might have to go to your other memory palace with all the drinks in it. But what happens is once you start getting used to all of these drinks, you don't have to use your memory palaces anymore because you're going to be so, used to, and it's going to be drilled into your brain after making the same thing over and over and over. You make whiskey sour 100 times, you're going to pretty much remember it. But it's just these memory palaces, these memory techniques that we're using are just there to help us in the beginning. So eventually we get to that level where we just have all these drinks down. The only thing you really need in terms of memory techniques are having your palaces to keep track of all the different orders. Because someone can order, a mojito, and then someone can order 3 whiskey sours, and then 5 Manhattans, and then all you do is just essentially what we did, right? The maracas for the margaritas, and then Cosmo Kramer with the shoe crushing them, 2 cosmopolitans. You just do the exact same thing for those orders. So you're connecting, if this was 1 mojito, but then you had 3 whiskey sours, maybe a tree with a whisk, Manhattan. I think of the Manhattan Project, which developed the atomic bomb. And if that was 5 of them, maybe I think it's a hive-shaped bomb or something. And so, you just have to keep track of these different orders, right? And of course, when you keep hearing them over and over and over again, and you keep memorizing them, eventually you would have an image associated with each drink. And so all you're really doing now is you don't have to think of an image for the drink because that comes up just by repetition. Now your main focus is, okay, I just gotta make sure my number is attached to whatever drink it is, and boom, you're going to be solid. And so there you go. This is how I would memorize bar drinks and bar orders. And this is coming for someone who has no idea on anything about alcohol or drinks or bars, anything like that. But if I had to memorize all these different drinks, it's just the method I just told you. Use a memory palace, coming up with repeating images for the different ingredients that come up, and then having each drink per location. And if I had to take drink orders, all I would do would be having a memory palace. Each location represents 1 order, and then coming up with images for the different drink names, and just making sure I'm attaching the number correctly to that specific drink, so I know that's how many I need to make for that specific order. So there you go. This video was a little bit longer, but I think it's nice to kind of show you the process of how someone who has no idea on how something works, like drinking or ordering drinks or anything like that, and applying memory techniques to it. Because anyone who has some knowledge on any topic they're going to be able to better memorize that information just because they can use that knowledge they currently have in a way that's going to make memorizing a lot easier compared to someone that has no idea. So they might just have to memorize extra information just because they think, I need to, memorize these ounces because I'm not sure if there's another measurement that people use. But I'm pretty sure when it comes to drinking, ounces will probably be the only measurement in this specific category where you actually have to, or is the only one that you have to use. It's not going to be pounds or anything above that. And so, no, any knowledge you have, use it to your advantage when you're learning a topic you already know something on. But yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.